2025 might have been the most important trade period in the history of the AFL, not in terms of the actual deals done, but those that weren't and the future that awaits those involved. Maybe the clubs have stared managers and players in the face and said enough is enough, but there were still plenty of big names that found new homes and clubs that looked to be resetting for the future. The AFL draft still awaits in November, but let's go over the biggest moves of this trade period and all those affected. We have to start with the deadline day deals that fell through. None were more dramatic or intense than Zach Merritt. His manager Tom Petroro was pacing from room to room at Marvel Stadium trying to get a deal done with Essendon and Hawthorn. It just didn't eventuate. He lost the plot a couple times and couldn't get his player to the Hawks. But Hawthorn didn't die wondering. Their final offer of picks 10, 22, a future first rounder and Henry Hustwaite was solid, but in the context, not good enough. Merritt still has 2 years to run on his contract at Essendon, and as Matt Rosa said post-trade period, the Bombers' number one position was to hold Merritt. Again, whether you think that is right or wrong is up to you, but when this is the starting position, an offer does have to be extremely compelling. Did that final offer equate to Merritt's value? Maybe, but trades are based on what the other club will accept. Perhaps if Cam McKenzie was involved and wanted to go to Essendon, or that fourth first round pick was added, it would have been enough, but the Bombers in the end said no deal. It didn't help that Hawthorn had no first round picks inside the top 10, and as we know with all the bidding, it just pushes back those picks even further. It's not the end of the world for Hawthorn, who did lose some depth, but they still have young on ballers like McKenzie and Hustwaite in the wings, and hopefully can get a full year out of Will Day. The Bombers will look to galvanise after this period, hope Merritt stays professional, and avoid any tension next year. Essendon has clearly taken a stand, and time will tell how it plays out. Maybe in 12 months' time, we will be right back here with Merritt still wanting to be a Hawk. Get the popcorn ready for round 1 2026, where the teams are likely to face off against each other in a fascinating opening match. Rowan Marshall was the other move that didn't really get going. It looked completely dead in the water, but a late offer from Geelong with pick 19 and a future second rounder had the Saints talking. But similar to Essendon, they stood their ground with Marshall being a required player. They will go into 2026 with both Marshall and Tom De Koning as their ruck duo. It wasn't all smooth sailing for St Kilda in the trade period, despite bringing in 4 players, and it was Leckerli the player who missed out and ended up staying at the GWS Giants. Buku Khamis was the other late trade that didn't happen, as Carlton clearly prioritised Charlie Curnow's deal with Sydney and just couldn't get the right pick in the end to give to the Bulldogs. But this leads us to Callum Archie. This got nasty in the end. The 28-year-old was out of contract, but not a free agent, meaning a trade needed to occur. He wanted out to Adelaide, and it seemed like a deal would be straightforward. He's a good player, a dual premiership one at that, but still a role player in a very strong team. Brisbane, however, wanted a first round pick, although Dom Ambrogio, Brisbane's list manager, said post-trade period, the Lions presented other options to get a deal done, one of which included 2 second round picks. The Crows' final offer was a future second and third round pick. From the outside it seemed like a solid deal, especially for a player out of contract, but Brisbane held firm and got nothing. So because no trade has occurred, it now means Archie will have to go through the pre-season draft and should be able to get to Adelaide the long way. Another club could poach him, some have pointed at West Coast, but Archie can set his contract price and should be able to get to the Crows in the end. It was a strange one. The lefties manager Ben Williams visibly angry with Brisbane, who couldn't figure out a deal. Williams said, "Zero chance he's back at Brisbane, he's leaving, he's going to Adelaide, he's committed to get to the Adelaide Footy Club. The only avenue for Cal to get there is through the pre-season draft, and that's what he'll do." Let's move on to the trades that were actually successful. Charlie Curnow is now a Sydney Swan. 3 first round picks and Will Hayward were the base of the deal that lands the 2-time Coleman medalist who kicked 64, 81 and 57 total goals between 2022 and 2024. He had a down year last year, not helped by injury, but he's still in his prime and will have the fire in the belly to bounce back. I think everyone can see the positives for both sides. The Swans get their new marquee forward something the club has always had since Tony Lockett, and solve their biggest on-field issue. It comes at a big cost, but not many sides in 2026 will have the star factor Sydney has, and that's exciting. For Carlton, they now have 6 first-round picks over the next 3 drafts, which gives them plenty of flexibility, and Hayward adds to their small forward stocks, which needed a boost. They still have Harry Mackay to lead the forward line, and like Curnow, they will be hoping he can get back to his best. This does seem like one of those trades where both sides can come out happy in the end. A couple other major moves sit with Melbourne. 2021 Norm Smith medalist Christian Petrarca is now a Gold Coast Sun. The D's like Carlton will also get 3 first-round picks, although 2 of them sit at pick 7 and 8 in this draft with selection 37. But Melbourne, alongside Petrarca, did have to give back picks 24, 28 and a future second rounder. The Suns now have all the points they need to match their academy players and get that superstar midfield forward. Petrarca should be better for 2026 with a season under his belt from his horror injury, and he can be moulded into whatever Damien Hardwick wants. Could he play full-time midfield, 50-50 mid-forward, or even full-time forward? Any of the above would help the Suns dramatically, and the bonus of keeping Bailey Humphrey to his contract only adds to the depth of the Suns' midfield group. What a get for the AFL's newest destination club. Melbourne now have those 2 first-round picks to keep building their own youth, and we will see a much different D's lineup in round 1 2026. Clayton Oliver will also not be a part of that team. It will cost Melbourne a fair bit of money over the next 5 years of his deal, but with half of his money off their books, he joined GWS for a future 3rd round pick. The Giants, who will be missing Josh Kelly for most of next season, needed some form of midfield support, and Oliver is a budget option who will hunt the ball and win clearances. They had 2 modern day icons of the Melbourne Football Club out alongside Judd McVie, but probably better for the future, and the additions of Brody Myercheck, Changwath Giath, Jack Steele and Max Heath offset the moves a little and provide stopgaps for the short and medium term. And the final important move was Jamarra Ugle-Hagan. He got his lifeline in the end up at the Gold Coast Suns. He will be on base wage, have a highly performance-based contract, and triggers that can end his tenure immediately if he makes more mistakes. It's a free punt for the Suns, who gave up just pick 74, but plenty of questions still linger. Could he muck up the newly built culture, or create forward line disharmony if he eventually plays? They are all valid questions, but Ugle-Hagan still has a long way to go to even play a state league level game. It could be possible the Suns put him on ice for 2026 and just try to rebuild his body and fitness to get to an AFL standard. It's such an interesting watch for a team that on paper didn't really need to take this risk. For the Western Bulldogs, it's another highly talented player out the door, but at least his $900,000 contract is as well, which was noted at the end of the club's statement. 12 months ago, it looked like Ugle-Hagan was about to break out into that 50-plus goal player, and now he is fighting for an AFL career at the Suns. But the big takeaway from the trade period has to be with the clubs. Alongside Merritt, Archie and Marshall, who weren't traded, Jai Simpkin also featured in that group, and Humphrey, who was mentioned before. The clubs might be taking a stand even without knowing it, and making contracts important once again. It was the non-trades that headlined the 2025 trade period and might be shifting the power dynamic away from the players and managers for the first time in a while.